We're back. Welcome to the Pinning Combination Podcast. I'm KJ Pilcher, joined, as always, by the incomparable Dick Briggs. Coach, it's good to be back in the saddle, as Gene Autry used to say.
That's right. Yeah, I remember Gene. You betcha.
Yep. One of my dad's favorite songs.
Yeah. I was a Roy Rogers guy when I was little, so I like
really?
But Roy was my guy.
Roy and Dale Evans, right?
That's right, yeah, and Trigger and Bullet.
I know a little bit.
What else is it?
Kind of interesting with that dynamic, and then one of our good friends, Dick Simmons, a big Duke fan, John Wayne.
Yeah,
and of course we'll use that as a quick plug that the D3 championships are going to be in Cedar Rapids this year. So make sure everybody keeps that on the periphery. But a lot to get into and digest here this first week of December, coming off the heels of the Cy-Hawk Series duel this weekend. We'll talk a little bit about UNI start so far to this season. You'll have a D3 breakdown in this podcast and what they've done here in the first month. And then we've got a couple neat little features. I'm going to put you on the spot with a blind five. I really like seeing some of those in other people's podcasts, and we'll kind of weave that into what we do this season each week. So first off, let's jump right into what happened Sunday in Ames. Iowa State got the monkey off their back and wrestled it down and pinned it in the middle of Hilton Coliseum with a 20-14 victory over the University of Iowa. 6 versus 3. Monumental win there for Kevin Dresser. One of the things that he had yet to do since taking over the Clones.
Right. Before we get into that, I would like to say this publicly, just briefly, and then we get right into it. There's been some changes at the Gazette. In J.R. Ogden is no longer sports editor. He's retired. And I just wanted to thank him for all of his years of service to the Cedar Rapids area and the sports and the youth, and particularly backing wrestling. He was such a giant in helping us get the word out of the wrestling. So have a good retirement, JR, and thank you very much. But anyway, back to the Iowa State.
Yeah, let me piggyback on that, because I think a lot of people, since you brought it up, a lot of people might forget just how instrumental JR had been. He was not a wrestling guy. He was not, he was a basketball player. He married into a wrestling family, the Byrne family, from Regis in Cedar Rapids, Washington. So he married into a wrestling family, but he really learned at the hands of Mike Chapman, who is the old sports editor at the Gazette. And of course, a lot of people know him from Win Magazine, what he's done, all the wrestling books and the wrestling museum, especially when it was at Newton, and all the contributions that Mike Chapman had. So he learned from him. JR over the years covered Iowa, UNI, Iowa State, high school stuff as well. I was able to take over for him, starting with the 2009-10 college wrestling season. So, for a few decades, he had his hands on the Gazette's wrestling coverage. And the great thing, when other publications kind of maybe steered away to other things or limited coverage, he was always a champion of maintaining coverage at high school, college, and even international stuff, especially, the Olympic trials when it was in Iowa City, and, the local individuals that were competing at that level. So, yeah, JR definitely a huge contributor, a huge promoter of the sport, whether as a writer or an editor, and we wish him the best.
And much of that, like you just said, was behind the scenes. It's probably not known to the public just how big he he was in that influence, and so that's where I wanted to thank him on our podcast.
Well deserved. Well, Sunday,
Mhm.
Iowa State, 2014 won 6 matches, a huge win for the Cyclones.
Right, and I'm going to actually start with the question because I don't know how is it that, because it sounded like how is it that they started at heavyweight, and I don't understand the rules in college. I need to get into that a bit more, and that it sounded like Dresser was able to pick the weight, and I don't. That's not possible, is there? Did they flip for it? Or?
So I think it comes down to the coaches agreeing. So if they agree to take the traditional lightest to heaviest route, then that's great. Or I think you could just actually come to an agreement on what weight you want to start. So if they wanted to start it, if both Dresser and Brands wanted to start at 157, it would just, okay, we'll start at 157 and go from there. If there is not necessarily a disagreement's the wrong word, but if they both have different wishes of where they want to start, then it goes to a coin flip. And whoever wins the coin flip gets to determine the starting weight.
Oh, so it does go to a coin flip. Okay.
Yep. And Dresser had asked Rocky Elam about this, and Dresser talked about this like a week or two ago, or leading up to the duel. They said if we win the toss, we're going to start at heavyweight, so they can have those bookends with Bastida and Elam. And it just so happened that they won the toss, and it just seemed like that was very beneficial because you had those bookend guys that could start and finish it, and they did. They took care of business, and it worked out as planned.
And they stayed away from Iowa's strength, which was the upper middleweights there, and they kept them at bay, so to speak. And it got it rolling with the heavyweight, and then down below in the lighter weights, and then the action happened in those Iowa weights, penciled in as Iowa weights. Got some upsets going on both sides. Really, so.
And that's one thing too. Sometimes it's cliche and gets overstated a little bit. In this duel, it seems like the unexpected becomes the expected, right? I think if anybody would have said Drake Ayala is going to get taken down 3 times in the third period and Evan Frost is going to beat him, you'd sit there and go, what? Not that you really doubted Evan Frost being able to win, but just in that matter. Or the fact that Ryder Block was going to knock off an All-American without a takedown at 149. Or maybe Vinny Zerban getting a major. Or MJ Gaitan throwing the kitchen sink at Patrick Kennedy and coming up with some big moves and winning in tiebreaker periods. Just seemed like that's the norm, and usually they're going in Iowa's favor, and this time the majority of them went Iowa State's way.
Right. So as we break this down, understand that I'm a UNI guy, but I cheer for all 3. So I can be pretty fairly unbiased, I think, in this, and my comments are going to maybe be strong for one side and also bite that same side. So as a guy that's kind of sitting on the edge of my seat, going, this is a great meet that's going on. I'm having a blast watching this. Most of the matches were just kind of nail biters, or at least there were periods of time in the match that they were, is it going to get this takedown or whatever or not? And so my comments, I'm going to start a little bit harsh on Iowa. Did you know that in the first 4 matches, Iowa got warned 3 times and penalized twice for stalling? And that's just untypical Iowa. So, and I don't know if it's so much Iowa or Iowa State being aggressive, maybe a little bit of both, but it was kind of untypical of Iowa for that to happen. And I think they were legitimate calls, so that's a concern, I think, on the Hawkeye side, and something to pat the the Cyclones on the back, I guess, on their side. I think that was real important where they started, and that had a lot to do with that, maybe. So anyway.
With you mentioning that, the one person that really comes to mind, Younger Bastida. He was almost relentless with moving forward throughout the whole match. Ended up with 3 takedowns, but I mean, he was somebody that, just was constantly dictating the pace of the match, in control, dictating whatever action was going on. And, credit Ben Keeter, that escape could have been absolutely huge, avoiding the major at the end. I mean, he wrestled all the way to the final second. But Bastida, I tell you what, being on that close to a major against a quality opponent like that says a lot. And he is somebody that is poised to do huge things this season. But I was really impressed when you talked about kind of dictating the pace. He did that right from the get-go and was really impressive at heavyweight doing that.
Agreed. And he got he took a neutral third period, which there's that point right there. And I mean, I hope that they gain the confidence to be able to put him down, because he's going to need that in the national tournament. Bastida is, and I was with you. I'm thinking on the Iowa State side, I hope this doesn't come back to haunt Iowa State. If you're an Iowa State fan, I'm sure they were thinking that. On the other hand, on the Iowa fan side, you're going, way to go, saved a team point right there. That could be the difference in, it's the first match of the night, so you don't ever know. So, both sides were, probably second guessing that one, at least on the Iowa State side. They shouldn't have taken down or whatever. But yeah, and I agree with you. He was aggressive, and Adam, he and a couple others in that throughout the night got in deep and slid up into a body lock and got takedowns in that manner. And we'll come to him, but I think Zerbin did one, and then Echemendia also did the same thing. Got up there and did some slightly risky finishes to takedowns, but they paid off.
What do you think was the biggest surprise out of this whole meet as far as results go? I'll throw it out there. I think Gaitan over Kennedy. I think that was the biggest surprise for me. I think the bonus points at 57 and 41 were also something I wasn't necessarily expecting. And then Frost, I'll probably put it in that. Well, no, Block over Johnson, and then Frost over Ayala. I think those are the top 5 things that kind of stood out. But for you, what do you think was the one that really kind of takes the cake as far as you didn't see it coming?
I didn't see this one coming because I just didn't know Zerbin. I hadn't watched him. He's in University of Northern Colorado transfer, and I just didn't know much about him. So, as a matter of fact, I love funky wrestlers, and I love funk on the mat, and that he is that. I mean, you don't want when you shoot on him, you got to finish, and he doesn't allow you to do that, and that was a big part of that match when he was able to defend, I think 2 or 3 shots in that first period, and then actually scored off of them, and he had that hip toss that came over the top, and
that was impressive.
Right. And then I think he beat Williams mentally with all of that. And then you saw that on the edge of the mat when Williams was standing up and went off the mat and kind of dropped to his knees. And Zerbin was smart enough it's good mat awareness to know where he's at, to gather both ankles and keep his toes in for a real important, critical 3-point takedown, at least at that stage in the match. So I guess Zerbin is my surprise. I like watching that. It'd be fun to watch, I think.
Oh, for sure. What was your biggest takeaway at 133 with Frost and Ayala? The big win. And this has got to be noted too with Evan Frost. 2 years ago in this duel, that was his big breakout moment when he beat Brody Teske at 133 2 years ago in this duel. That was kind of his coming out party, and here he had similar success against another Fort Dodge Hawkeye in a big moment, in a big swing match.
I didn't remember that it was the Fort Dodge connection. But so Ayala is ranked third, two-time finalist, and Frost is ranked sixth. So we're calling that a little bit of an upset with Ayala.
Yeah, mild.
I love that slide by that he hit for a takedown early in the match. That's his signature move. Hits it on the right side, so the right arm, right leg, and just scramble. And then there was also at the end of the second period a really great scramble that they had, and that was good on his side part. But then Frost came through with a really strong third period, and the announcers on television were wondering if he's going to have enough stamina, and he did not let up at all. He looked good, and it sounds like he had the flu, right, or some sort of illness,
some kind of head cold or something early in the earlier in the week,
which can also wind you. But he showed no signs of that. So he got that neutral danger takedown, and that's just good, smart mat awareness. They were kind of straddled over, and he's in a kind of a goofy position, and was able to keep Ayala's back exposed for 90. You have to break 90 and for a 3 count to get that neutral danger takedown. So, and that was real important. Helped win that match right there.
Yeah, we mentioned Echemendia, dominant 15-2 over Bailey there. That was a big boost that put Iowa State up 10-3. Then Ryder Block, a hard-fought 2-1 win over Panero Johnson. Sounded like Jacob Frost was had that head cold illness that his brother dealt with earlier in the week. So he would have probably gone had he been well. But Johnson, an All-American, got the nod, and another good win for Block. Block's off to a really good start for the Hawkeyes.
Right. And I'm going to back up to Echemendia. They had a neat little interview that you wouldn't have seen when you were there, but they interviewed him on the television, and his comment was his dad contacted him sometime not too long ago, evidently, and said, "You have such an arsenal. Don't hold back that arsenal." And I love that part of it. He also talked about him. He grew up in Cuba, and so it's an honor to be wrestling for the Cyclone Nation. And it's just a really nice interview from him. And I love that. Don't hold back. You have such an arsenal. And he does too. So, and we didn't mention, but Nasser Bailey is also a transfer from Little Rock. Is an All-American there. So that's a big win. I think, is he wrestling up weight or is he? Yeah.
He's been at 33 before. I'm assuming that he, in a different situation, he probably could wrestle 33 again, but wrestling 41 to kind of strengthen the lineup there with Ayala at 133.
Right. And then on the Ryder Block side, I got to give kudos because my son Kyle was wrestled up in Waverly and got to wrestle with Ryder. And that was his first question. How'd Ryder do? So, because Kyle was traveling over in Europe and had just got back Sunday, so he didn't get to watch or see it. And so he thinks a whole lot of Ryder. So what a nice win that was. Neither one of the wrestlers showed a lot of offense. They didn't even really make strong attempts, and then they took it into the tiebreaker. So Block got out from underneath a 30-second tiebreaker. He had the first one, got out with 3 seconds. And then, so now the coaches and Johnson have to decide, do I want to go down and waste time? Because he's going to probably get an escape. Can he get an escape faster than 3 seconds? Then he would have the tiebreaker riding time advantage for the win. Or do you want to waste time and then have to try and take him down anyway with less time? So the coaches elected to put him on neutral and not give him that opportunity. So, which that's a tough call because he hadn't shown a whole lot of offense, so you don't know what he's capable of. And there's a guy that's pretty explosive and just never got the gun going. And credit Block with his defense and his length of taking that away from Johnson.
So that made it 10-6 at the break, and then we came back. We already talked about Zerbin, his win over Jordan Williams. The Michael Caliendo, the one Hawk that really showed a lot of offense. 6 takedowns in a 20-5 technical fall over Connor Newton. But here's the thing. 6 takedowns from Caliendo, who I think has been one of the most consistent Hawkeyes over the last 2 years. They only finished with 9 total takedowns. So you got 6 from Caliendo and 3 from the rest of the lineup.
Wow.
That's telling. Iowa State finished with a 16-9 advantage in takedowns overall in the duel. But Caliendo kind of lighted things up there at 165. It pulled Iowa within 3. And you're thinking, you got Kennedy, Ferrari, and then that big one at 97 with Elam and Dean. And you're like, oh, here we go. This is where things turn and end up going in Iowa's favor. But then MJ Gaitan put the brakes on it with a big win, 9-8 over Patrick Kennedy. Remember 2 years ago, these two went at it in Ames as well. It was Kennedy's very first match coming back from like an off-season knee surgery. He got out to a big win and then held on at the very end to win 14-13. And that ended up being a big win in that duel. Gaitan, able to avenge that loss, was able to get an escape in tiebreaker 1 for the difference, and then rode out Kennedy in the second 30-second period. But got a kick out of Gaitan talking about being at Casey's the day before. Guys said, "Oh, you guys wrestle for Iowa State, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." "Who do you have?" And he said, "Patrick Kennedy." And the guy just looked at him and went, "Oh, ouch," and then walked out of the store. So, that was something that didn't set well with him. And he was able to make good on a big win, and not just getting the win, but the way he did it. Coming through with some big funky moves. Like I said, threw the kitchen sink at everything but the kitchen sink at him, and came away with a big win there.
Gage, I'm going to interrupt because it looks like you're having issues there. But I'll add this right here. With Caliendo, you're right. I thought when that match was over, I'm thinking, okay, on paper again, it looks like Iowa could win 2, maybe Iowa State 1, and it could tie 17-17. And I'm in my mind, I'm going, what's the tiebreaker? And who's got the advantage going into that last match sort of thing. So you're exactly right on that issue. And then with Gaitan, when he was wrestling, let's address it. At the end, right at the end of the match, there was in that tiebreaker, there was right off whistle. I'm in the room by myself in my living room, and as soon as the whistle blew, Gaitan raised up, and I thought Kennedy. In my mind, I went, "Oh, locked hands," and I went, and I said it out loud actually, and then at the end of the 30 seconds, the brick was out, and I also said, "That's too late for a challenge." So before they announced that, and so I don't know. They never showed it again. I don't know if it was locked hands, but it was close enough that in my mind I went, "Oh, that's locked hands," and actually out loud, and then. So some people are going, "Oh, he threw the brick out to get the rest." I honestly, what I thought was they couldn't see it because the coaches were to the back right of the wrestlers, and they came up over here, so it was blocked to the coaches, the Iowa State coaches anyway, and probably the Iowa coaches as well. And so I thought someone probably ran around and told them by then it's too late to throw the brick out or whatever challenge. And then so now did they throw the brick out anyway to get a little rest, or were they actually interested in that? I mean, I don't know. It's, those questions may never be answered, So
Right.
definitely I can see it from both sides, both point of views there. But, I think you said that if one guy's getting a rest, the other guy is as well. So, it can benefit either one.
Exactly.
There's a rest.
Angelo Ferrari, he got Iowa back within 3 with a decision over Isaac Dean, and just a real basic match there. Getting a stall call, an escape in the third to win 2-1. And then, to close things out at 197, you got Rocky Elam, a 4-time All-American at Missouri, coming off a year where he had an injury. Transfers to Iowa State, gets thrown right in the middle of the Cyhawk rivalry. He comes out to Gonna Fly Now by, the Rocky anthem. By the end of the match, the Cyclone fans were chanting Rocky, Rocky. I mean, it was kind of a surreal moment. Pretty cool. He ended up with an 8-2 win over Musselman and Dean, who has had a fantastic start with Iowa, transferring from Wartburg, where he was a 3-time national champ at the D3 level. But big win for Elam, and great way for Cyclone fans to really get introduced to him on Sunday.
Right. And I'm going to back up to the Ferrari Dean match. I'm pretty sure Dean was an All-American, right?
I believe so, with Ryder.
I thought he was at Ryder, and but anyway, so I mean, Ferrari is the number 1 ranked wrestler in the nation right now at a very deep, tough weight class at 184, and anyway, so Dean has a really incredible balance and great flexibility because Ferrari got in deep on I think probably 3 or 4 different attempts and wasn't able to finish, and so Ferrari's going to need to improve on those finishes to make that gap. And on Dean's behalf, he did a good job of keeping it tight with the number 1 ranked guy in the nation, and he was in the able to win that match right up to the end, and so credit Ferrari on that because Dean wrestled really well. And at 197, you're right. That was fun if you're an Iowa State guy. Elam's have been really tough in Missouri. He has a brother. And anyway, to step up into Iowa Cyclone Nation with that big, it's probably the biggest crowd he's ever wrestled in front of. I don't know. Missouri had some good ones through the years, but I don't know if it was that big.
Yeah,
but
probably,
so that's a big win. And like you said, yeah, and Dean's had a real good start to the season. I hope Dean's not undersized. He's strong, but he's a kind of short 97 pounder. So I hope he's not undersized. And if he is, he's going to have to maybe kind of come at it, some of those bigger guys at a different angle and approach. So, but Elam really put it to him, and 8-2 win over a guy that's undefeated, I think, up until then. Mm-hmm. And
so after that, we could. I know it's been said ad nauseum, but first win since 2004 for Iowa State in this rivalry. First Iowa State win against Brands as a head coach. First time they've won the Dan Gable Traveling Trophy. First win at Hilton against Iowa since 2003. Are you looking at this more of great accomplishment, positive for Iowa State, or is there a sense of, boy, they lost to Ohio State, now they lost to Iowa State? Is this another sign of worry for Hawkeye fans? Because I know that there's a lot of hand wringing going on, especially in the immediate reaction to losing to Iowa State.
Oh yeah, the Iowa Nation does not like that. They pretty much own this duel for forever, for a long time. So yeah, there's concern. Let's face it. In college wrestling, you're building for your conference tournament, which is your qualifier, and then the national tournament, and that's how you kind of a lot of times judge your season. However, this year there's been an added twist with the national duels. That was a big goal to get there, and they did a nice job in that semifinal match against Oklahoma State. Beat them without their heavyweight, and they forfeited there, and then to come back and wrestle Iowa State, who did not compete down there, and so they're still kind of hungry and not necessarily battle worn yet. Not that because you go down and wrestle 4 meets right off the bat at a high caliber competition,
right?
That can get you a little bit. So, is there concern? Yeah, maybe a little in the season. So we'll see.
Do you have a hot topic? Teeing off with Briggs, were you able to get one together for this first episode?
We just talked about last night, so I didn't come up with a hot topic yet, but I did come up with a fun one. Let's do a fun one to start with. How about that?
Sure.
So the other day I was driving down the highway, and I'm going, and a song came on, and I'm going, man, this guy's voice is iconic rock and roll. And then I thought, I got to ask KJ on our pinning combination. I said, who his male and female iconic voice is that kind of emanates rock and roll. And it doesn't have to be your favorite or anything. Like for instance, a John Fogerty or that's actually who I was listening to, and that's my
really
iconic voice. Clear whatever, John Fogerty. Anyway, an example might be Joe Crocker, Joe Walsh. They have iconic voices. Janis Joplin, but it doesn't have to be someone you really like. Since I said John, I'll tell you my female one as well before you go, and that's Ann Wilson from Heart.
Oh,
and, those two voices, when I hear them, I'm like, holy cow, they're so good. Anyway, that's having some fun. What'd you come up with, KJ, on your two?
Boy. So with rock and roll, are we going like all the way back? Because as cliche as it might be, obviously Elvis is right there. You know what I mean? Gosh.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there's no wrong answers, that's for sure.
Bob Seger,
mm-hmm.
too.
Yeah.
God, if you want to expand it a little bit more, Jagger, of course. Boy, even for me a little bit, Freddie Mercury.
For sure.
On the male side, Steven Tyler from Aerosmith, I think is one of those iconic voices that the minute he comes on, it grabs your attention. You know exactly who it is. Female for me, and I told you this last night, it's Joan Jett. Joan Jett is by far one of my favorite performers. Somebody that probably doesn't get the kudos for being a trailblazer. She was really one of the first, you mentioned Ann Wilson because the Wilson sisters, right? They were one of those first, but before them, Joan Jett with the Runaways and first really all-female hard rock group. So Joan Jett, maybe I threw a bunch out there for guys. Do I have to say one?
Yes.
Okay. I'll say Steven Tyler for me, just because of the time when I grew up.
There you go.
How big Aerosmith was in the 80s.
And Joan Jett.
Yeah. And people can make fun of me. I'm tone deaf, so I'm not a great music connoisseur, but no, that's fun.
Okay, and I'll end it with this. If you haven't seen Ann Wilson, well, the Hart, the
Hart,
what's her name?
yep.
The sister's name, I can't remember her name. She's the musician and the genius there. But anyway, they did the Kennedy Center quite a number of years ago. They did a tribute to Led Zeppelin and did the Stairway to Heaven song. And if you have not seen that, Google it. It is absolutely, you'll get chills watching. They do such a good job, and it's not just them; it's a whole big group that does it. So, and the Led Zeppelin guys are sitting there, Jimmy Page and I don't know their names, but it's pretty cool. Anyway, on we go. Sorry.
All right, sure. Let's transition. Let's just touch on kind of UNI start here. They're 2-2 right now. They're coming off a big, I believe it was 27-11 win over North Dakota State in their home opener. But they were off this weekend. You know, they started at the National Duels Invitational. They had their first varsity duel canceled because of travel issues. Then they went to the National Duel Invitational, lost to North Carolina State. Then they beat number 12 Cornell 26-8 and lost a close one with number 9 Minnesota 22-16. Then they handled North Dakota State. So they're 2-2 overall right now. You know, they lost some talent, obviously, you know, Keckeisen being the obvious one to point out there, but they have a lot of talent coming back. And even though it's 2-2, I think they've wrestled well here this first month.
I agree. And, you know, they're going out east somewhere. I don't remember what they did get weathered out, and they're kind of tournament heavy in their schedule to start with. But they did get in, you know, the 3 duels at the national duels and that NDSU win. So I think they wrestle Missouri in a couple of weeks. And that's their next on the 14th, and that's their next competition. So they've got some time off. I don't know if that falls in the end of the term type of thing, you know, or what, why that gap is there. But their schedule is pretty loaded.
They do have, I think they did add the Cougar Clash at Southern Illinois, Edwardsville on Sunday. I think they've added that
right, and you're right.
because they lost that previous date.
And that may be, I'm sorry, I did know that, but I wasn't sure if they were going to send their top wrestlers there or not. I don't know, because sometimes they don't.
I think so.
Are they? Okay. Well, there you go. Good. Okay. And that I was mentioning that on their schedule for the remainder of the season, they only have one team that's not ranked in the top 21 on their schedule, and that team is at Arizona State. So that's a pretty good
one.
You know, they're liable to be ranked by the time they're wrestling in January. So, so good content in their duel. So these are building sort of team. Obviously, they lost Happel and they lost Keckeisen, a couple of big ones there, and at least they lost Happel on the mat. He's still part of the coaching staff, though.
Yep. And Keckeisen is still, I believe, around the Panther Wrestling Club as well. So they haven't gone far. When you look at UNI's lineup, when you got Anderson at 125, that's well, was he a blood round guy last year? I think might have been around a 12 guy. You've got Farber, who's a solid 33-pounder. You replace Happel with Corey Land, who before injury last year, I know a lot of things were kind of expected out of him there. You've got Caleb Rachi, who is a national qualifier at Iowa, transferring in, even though he's had a rough start at 149. I think Cale Ranavardi has kind of stepped in at 57. Then you've got Ryder Downey, who's up a weight, 165. Sima back at 74. Then you've got kind of a few guys, Nick Fox, CJ Walrath at 184. Probably John Gunderson stepping in at 197, maybe Runyon. the younger Runyon, at 197 to replace Volker, who's bumped up to heavyweight, and he's off to a good start. He's bulked up to about 250. And so far he's 3-1 with his only loss coming to Minnesota, Hupkey at Minnesota, I believe. So they've got some firepower in that lineup.
Right. And if he's been able to bulk up to 250, 240, 250, right in that range, I imagine, there's no way he's going to make 97 again. That's not easy to do.
I don't think he wanted to. Yeah,
put that much weight on that quick and have a good, strong, usable weight. So, and he may be a little short for the. We'll see how that works out. But I'm anxious to see how he does this season. And he's such a good kid. We got to cover him in high school, of course.
Yep. One of the things I asked Schwab and him about on media day was the fact that UNI's got a pretty good track record with guys bumping up. Blaise Cabell was a 97-pounder and kind of an in-betweener who bulked up and went to heavyweight. I still think without illness, he could have done some really special things his senior year at the NCAA tournament. But that was kind of an unfortunate deal. You've had Terrell Gordon bump up and do it. You had Runyon that went from like 74 up to heavyweight, and he was competitive there. So they have these guys that have done it before. Volker's probably about as big and as good. His Greco-Roman background probably helps him up there with leverage and moving bigger guys around. But that track record and guys that have done it before him, that kind of made it an easier decision once they realized he was able to put on the weight and keep it on to make this move.
Thanks, KJ. I forgot all about the other three guys. It didn't dawn on me to look back on that. Of course, I knew Runyon last year, but Cabell, Cabell's an Independence kid, wasn't he?
Yep.
Independence, if I remember right. Yeah. Blaise, good wrestler, good kid. Yeah. And then and Gordon out of Waterloo East, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
East. Yeah. So yeah, that's interesting. That's a good question for Schwab. I'm glad to hear that.
So we mentioned the Cougar Clash this week, which I'm pretty sure they're sending as many people as possible, including number one guys there. They also have the Jim Cook Open at Wisconsin Parkside, I think, for JV guys. Then those upcoming duels with Missouri and North Carolina in December on the 14th and 21st. So we'll look forward to the UNI in those competitions. And speaking of UNI, so I've been enthralled with these blind fives that some other podcasters do, where they throw out a subject and then they give like 5 choices, and you got to rank them blindly 1 through 5. You don't know what you're going to get when you get them. So it can lead to some interesting things depending on who you rank or what you rank in the first ones that come up. So I've got a blind 5 for you here. Are you ready for this?
Yeah, I mean, I until last night I hadn't seen any of this. I had no awareness of what this was about. So fired at me, and I'm going to apologize right now for my ignorance.
So I want you to rank the top 5, these UNI coaches 1 through 5.
Oh, ouch.
UNI wrestling coaches 1 through 5. I told you I was going to put you on the burner. All right. So number one, your first one, Mark Manning. Where does Mark Manning rank 1 through 5 there? Where are you putting him?
Okay, so here's the backside to this little game that we're doing. I don't know who you're going to pull out. So it could be you don't include a Chuck Patton, who was my coach. You don't include a Don Briggs, who's my brother. You might go way back to someone I don't even know in the past that
five random ones.
Okay, so I'm going to put Manning at. He was good. He was very good. He was here a short time, but I don't know who you're going to fire at me. So
Right.
I got to go with. I got to put him 3 or 4. Let's go with because I got to save room for someone you might throw in there.
Yep.
I'm going to go. 3.
All right. Manning at 3.
3.
All right. Ready for your next one? Don Briggs. Yes. Don Briggs.
Well, so that's a no-brainer. That's number 1. And that's huge because he's over Chuck Patton, who I have the most esteem for. But Don's been my coach since I was born. So, that's an unfair question to me. No, it was very fair to me. I don't know. Whatever.
All right. Number 3, Doug Schwab.
You see, there's where I might have messed up. How do I go 2? And then, you see, I might have had, I was tossing between Manning at 3 and 4 because I thought this might happen. Okay, are you going to throw Patton in there? I gotta say Patton. So, and no disrespect to everyone else, but I think you're going to have 4. I don't have a choice.
All right, so Schwab at 4. Your next one is Chuck Patton.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So he's got to go number 2. Yep.
All right.
I messed up there. And whoever's left is 5. Yeah.
And the last one, Dave McCuskey. Sliding in the number 5 spot then, huh?
Dave McCuskey. Right. And you see, now McCuskey was Don's coach at Iowa. So I knew Coach reasonably well. And I think he's all right at 5 based on the other ones. Yeah. I would have liked to have switched to 4.
So I did not realize. So I knew of McCuskey as an Iowa head coach. I did not know he was a championship coach at UNI. I did not know that because I was going to throw Bill Cole in here. Right. And then when I saw McCuskey, I was like, oh, wait. So.
So Cole, that's a good one to omit because it's before my time. I would have bumped him down just because of that, like I did McCuskey. Well, I didn't have any choice there, but McCuskey I knew, so that was a good choice. I don't know if you knew that he was my brother's coach at Iowa.
I didn't. Well, when I saw that he had left UNI for Iowa at 53, I kind of put 2 and 2 together because I remember when your brother wrestled there.
Right, and the connection with my brother was going to Iowa was that his high school coach at Jefferson for 1 year was Gary Kirtlemeyer. Yeah, Kirtlemeyer was with Jefferson for 1 year. And then when he went to Iowa, he got down to go down there as well. So.
Gotcha. Well, let's jump into the D3 things. Upper Iowa, they've had a couple of tournaments. They went to the Augie Open. Only had one dual meet where they beat Hawkeye Tech, Community College. The Augie Open, Lawson Losi won a elite title there, and Cale Nash, former Clear Creek Amana prep, won the freshman bracket. But that's really been all for Upper Iowa. But let's jump into your kind of D3 breakdown and what you've seen at that level so far this season.
All right, I'll start with Co. Co is 0-1 so far. They lost an early meet, November 13th, to Central, 18-17. They didn't have a Brody Neighbor wrestle in that for whatever reason. So, and Central kind of comes gunning for them usually at the beginning of the season there. So now, the reason I bring up, and that could have been a 9-point swing because they got pinned there. Well, Brody's probably going to win, or even if he doesn't win, loses it. That's could be the difference in the meet. But Nick won at 133 at the Luther Open. He was 5-0 and beat 2 ranked guys. And then at the Co-Invitational, he had 5 champs. Braden Park, Brody Neighbor again. He's 9-0 on the season. Ty Kodum, who won over his teammate Cale Kurtz, names we know very well. And then Bo Kodum was the winner, and Wyatt Smith also for Co. And all 6 of the guys I just mentioned are Iowa high school products. And that's why I love watching D3 and watching our high school guys do well. So 33 of the 46 kids listed on the Co roster are Iowa high school products, and many of them are local athletes. So again, I love seeing those kids do well. At Cornell's 1-1. They beat University of Wisconsin Parkside, and then they lost to number 5 lacrosse. So they've had a couple of nice matches there. They've been to the Milliken Open. They had 2 runner-ups there, Austin Wilkins and Jackson Brinker, both Iowa high school products. And like Co, Cornell, half of their 40 guys are actually 19 of the 40 are Iowa high school products or grads. So, and then at the Co-Invitational, Jackson Brinker, who's 7-2 on the season at 197, won that. They had 4 runners up as well. Loris is 1-0 on the season. They beat BV, and they had 5 champs at the Jim Fox Invitational. They had 1 runner-up at Luther, and that Luther is a tough tournament. I've been to that a number of times, and that was Eric Kincaid Comanche. And then they had 1 runner-up at Concordia, another tough tournament that I've been to, and that's Landry Barker at 184. University of Dubuque is 1-0. They beat Simpson 43-10, and then at the Fox Open, they had 2 champs, Cale Roth at 65 and Justin Matson at 285, and then they had 2 runner-ups. And at that Concordia tournament, they had 2 runner-ups, Roth at 65 and Matson again at heavyweight. He lost to 4-2 to the D3 champ from Wartburg. So that was a good win. Not a bad loss, 4-2 to the D3 champ. Anyway, Luther is 0-1. They got beat by Lacrosse 25-18. So a very good show there against the number 5 ranked team. They had 1 champion, Clayton McDonough, at the Pointer Open, and McDonough's a Central Springs High School. Can you tell me what town that is?
Oh, shoot!
I didn't know this. I won't let you struggle too much. Norris Springs.
Oh, really?
Anyway, yeah. So anyway, then here's an interesting note. I just saw this. I was looking through the rosters, and Luther wins the award for the furthest person from their home. Their 157-pounders, Zoltan Mraz, M-R-A-Z, is from Hungary. And
really,
he had no high school competition. Evidently, they don't have high school competition in Hungary. Wrestled for a club around that country, so I thought that was pretty neat. I wonder how many miles he is away from. Anyway, Co wrestles Thursday against BV, is it? And then Cornell is at the MSOE. Remember what that is? Milwaukee School of Engineering Invitational on Saturday. Loris, yeah, and Loris has a quad. They have Eau Claire, the University of Wisconsin Eau Claire, and Whitewater is number 6, and then Augsburg. They're also in Augsburg, so they got a tough. That's on Thursday, a quadrangular with those 4 teams. Number 1 Augsburg and number 6 Whitewater. UD's at Platteville on Friday. Luther's at Wartburg on Friday, and Upper Iowa, like you said, is at the BV Open on Saturday. Okay. There you go for your wrap up.
Well, let's quickly switch over to the high school. Boys have just started this week. Obviously, this first weekend's huge, right out of the gate with some marquee tournaments. But let's just kind of talk a little bit about some of the top teams and stuff here coming into this season. I want to give a little bit of a shout out to our preseason coverage you can find at thegazette.com, where I have some wrestlers and teams to watch coming into this 2025 season. I think it's a 20 wrestlers in all three classes. And then I think 7 teams, the Gazette only, obviously. So if you don't see somebody outside of our circulation area, that's why. Not that we didn't think they were worthy or anything like that. And then a feature on Keaton Moeller, which for me, I think it's a great read if you get a chance to read it. This young man, Starmont, was 3rd as a freshman in Class 1A, won a state title as a sophomore at 150 pounds. His junior year, during the first game of football, he took a shot to the knee and tore his ACL, had to miss not just the rest of the football season, but his chance to defend his title during wrestling. And then the track season where he was a state qualifier in relays the year before. He's worked his way back, and now he's healthy. He's a UNI signee. He's wrestled at 100. He's going to be right around 190 now. So he's really grown. It's just kind of about the trials and tribulations of having something he loved kind of ripped away from him and how it's changed his perspective on a lot of things. He's just a great kid. If you get a chance, give that a read. I'll just kind of touch on a few of the guys that I have listed. Obviously, kind of leading the pack. Moeller is there, being one of the returning state champs. Alexander Pierce at Iowa City West, the 3-time finalist who won a state title as a freshman for the Trojans. He's one of the top guys in Class 3A, as well as guys like Mikey Ryan from a 3-time medalist from Mount Vernon, which unfortunately he's not going to have one of his best friends, one of his teammates, Jace Jaspers, wrestling. He was a 3-time finalist and state champion last year as a junior. He's going to St. Cloud State to wrestle, but he suffered a knee injury early in the football season this year, and of course missed the majority of the football season and won't wrestle this year. That's why he's not on there. But we've got a lot of quality guys up and down the weight classes. Coy Maylert from Union. One of those guys, Lucas Feuerbach, state finalist from Solon, is listed in there. Alburnett, they've got Tayton Kufal back, and they've got a handful of state medalists on their roster. You look at Cooper Hines at Jessup, a 3-time state medalist who's going to Michigan. So a lot of individual talent. Make sure to check out that list at thegazette.com. But this year, I guess let's just talk about 3A really quick. I mean, boy, just kind of looking at things right from the get-go, Southeast Polk seems to be that team kind of leading the way in 3A. Bettendorf, Ankeny Centennial, probably close. Don't overlook Dowling, but boy, I'd still think it's Southeast Polk's to lose in 3A.
Right, and you're going to have the usual, like you mentioned, a lot of the usual teams in 3A there, and you might even throw in, I haven't looked real close, but maybe Johnson, Waukee Northwest, Waverly, Shellrock, some of those teams as well that'll be strong. But you're right, right now it's Southeast Polk, and I don't really think it's close, maybe, but we'll see. You never know what happens, right, throughout the season.
I think that And this has been the case the last couple of years, for sure. 2A seems to be the most wide open and could be fun, especially now with kind of the change in dynamics with the class breakdown. And we can get into more of that later. But some teams are making the move up just because of the change in classes. Alburnett, now a 2A school instead of a 1A school. Wilton, a 2A school now. Osage, that was a 2A school, had dropped down to 1A, is now back up to 2A. You got Eddyville, Blakesburg, Fremont in there. Clarion, Goldfield, Dows. Those are some of the top teams here to kind of start off this season, and it'll be an interesting dynamic with some 1A powers kind of moving up to 2A and seeing how they do against some of those bigger schools, which I think they'll do just fine.
I did not know that. That's interesting to know. I had not paid attention. Oh, Wilton and Alburnett, and then Osage back up. That's going to be fun too. And you know, honestly, this might be a good year for that to happen because Don Bosco is absolutely loaded. It seems like, and
yes,
they would probably run away with 1A and will now. I think for sure if they wouldn't before. And like Don Bosco is so good, they might break the record of points scored, sort of thing. You know, that's hard to say here in early December, but I mean, so maybe some of those schools bumping up to 2A is not bad.
Yeah, and when you know, it might be a better move for somebody like Alburnett, which I would have put right in the team race in 1A for second. I know that sounds terrible to say, but with Don Bosco, I mean, they've got 6 guys that are ranked number 1 to start the season, and
right.
They've got some hammers. And you know they're going to fill out their lineup too, which is going to be scary. But for a team like Alburnett, that's going to have balance, going to have guys that can compete with some of the best wrestlers in 2A and 3A and 1A in any class. Making that move up to 2A might actually help. Same with Wilton, to be honest with you. So we'll see how that works out. But I think you're right. Don Bosco just absolutely loaded again. And I don't know if there's anybody that can match not just their talent, but their depth and their balance in 1A. And that's saying something because Jessup's going to be really, really good, but their ceiling is maybe capped at second.
Yep, and Don Bosco, it might be how many of them are going to go undefeated this season. That's right. How it's. But we'll find out because they're going to. I believe they're coming down to the, if I remember right, to the Donnybrook, aren't they?
I believe so.
Yes.
And that's.
I think they are anyway.
Yeah, we can touch on this first weekend. Always, they've got some marquee tournaments there. The Dan Gable Donnybrook. Obviously for both boys and girls, an incredible field down at Extreme Arena in Coralville there. Just trying to find the teams that are a part of that. You've got Albert Lee, Minnesota, Ankeny, some teams from Illinois, Bettendorf, Don Bosco is there, as well as Decorah. Decorah is going to be a sneaky good team as well. They've got a lot coming back. Iowa City High's down there, as well as Liberty and West. Linmar is in the field. Montini from the Chicagoland area is in there. New Lenox, Oak Park, River Forest, Palatine, Odessa, Missouri, Park Hill, Missouri. We've got teams even from Indiana that are making the drive over, and of course Waverly, Shell Rock, Marion, Illinois, Waukee Northwest, part of that group. So, loaded field down there and jumping right into the fire with a lot of those teams.
And you typically
Mount Carmel.
you typically don't travel out of state unless you have a team you're pretty proud of.
Right. And some of those teams are nationally ranked or teams that have been in the national rankings. When you think of Montini and Mount Carmel, schools like that, Oak Park, River Forest, so that's what you call a humdinger down there. And the girls' field that starts the day before, I believe, is just as strong.
Yeah, and I looked at both, and that was the boys and girls, and just to see the teams, and it was the same. So I don't know if it was how accurate this is, because I know in the past the boys have had more teams than the girls, but they had 25 teams on both, and 11 of those teams were from Iowa, and 14 were out of state. So, but I think it might be even more teams on the boys' side.
One of the other biggies this weekend, the Cliff Keen Independence Invitational. We've talked about Alburnett. They're in the field up there. Clarion Goldfield Dows, which will be one of those top teams in Class 2A. They'll be part of the field. Clear Creek Amana is there. Crestwood, Denver with Gavin Landers. They're in the field. Eddyville, Blakesburg, Fremont, one of the other top teams in 2A. Then you've got Greene County. Lisbon is in the field. North Polk, Osage, PCM Monroe, Perry, Pleasant Valley, Solon, Roland Story, Tinley Park out of Illinois, Union Community, which has some really good individuals. Cedar Rapids Xavier, which we're going to see against Western Dubuque on Thursday, both boys and girls. So, strong field there at Independence. Great gauge in that first weekend.
And KJ, can you talk me through the Independence bracket, how that works? Don't they do pool play? Let's see. Is it pool on Friday and then bracketed on Saturday?
Actually, it's the other way around. So what they do is they have bracket on Friday, and then depending on how you place in those brackets, it puts you into another bracket for the next day. So if you place, or no, I think maybe I got it backwards. I think maybe I have it backwards. Where you wrestle in your pool, and depending on how you place in that pool determines which bracket you go in to place, actually like 1 through 32. So no matter what, and see what I love about that is you're not getting into this high level tournament and just going 0-2 or just getting.
I think it is like you said.
Okay, so I was right originally.
I'm not sure.
Well, regardless, what it does is that second day you're going to be in more of a like a talent level, like a similar talent level of competition for that second day. So instead of just getting thumped for 2 or 3 matches and being done, you're going to be able to wrestle some high-level competition, and then you're going to face individuals that are closer to your skill level, whether you're the top tier guy or, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32 the next day and still get 6 matches and certainly assured of having a chance to be competitive. And not in a watered down way, just the more wrestling guys that are on your level kind of situation, which I like. If that makes sense. I hope it does. All right, so we'll just kind of close things up for this first edition of the Pinning Combination podcast. We'll be back with both separate college and high school podcasts from here on out for the rest of the season. For Coach Briggs and for myself, we'd just like to thank you guys for being on board again this season. And like always, we'd like to finish up with the immortal words of our late friend, G. Wyatt Schultz. We'll say thanks for watching, and remember, keep wrestling on the move.